Good day. Welcome. This is your Daily Med with Lady V. Grace, peace be multiplied. As we look at Second Chronicles chapter 20, verse 14 to verse 17, we will see how God heard and answered prayer. The prayer of Jehoshaphat and his people. God promised that he would fight for them. He alone would do the fighting. So even so, God still called upon them to do something. They were a part of the equation. And so after he spoke to them through a young man whom he himself raised up as a prophet amongst them, and gave them the instruction as to what they were to do to be victorious in battle. They still needed to go out and position themselves on the field and be ready. And so they were prepared and they did so. What God is allowing us to understand, that there is a part for us to play, and we must do our part. We must trust God. We must yield to Him completely. We must look to Him in all things. We don't just only pray and leave it there and sit back and do nothing. We must also yield ourselves to be used as the answer for what we have prayed. We have seen examples in the scripture. There was Joseph. God used him to interpret the king's dream. When he interpreted the king's dream, the king said to him, "You are the best person to be responsible for carrying out that which you have just said." So we ourselves must be prepared and be responsible to be a part of what God is asking to be done, to be a part of that answer to prayer. So as the enemy bore down on Judah, God spoke through this young man. He said, "Tell them, do not be afraid." The people, and including the king, for the battle is not yours, it doesn't belong to you. We see that in verse 14 of First Chronicles chapter 20. But the battle is mine, it is God's. The people had only to go out the next day and see what God has done. God promised Jehoshaphat and the people, He told them they would be victorious. The scripture says He's not like man that He should lie, nor like the Son of Man that He should recant or change His mind. He promised to be with them. Therefore He says, "My presence is with you. You do not have to be afraid." So They would need to present themselves so that they might witness the victory firsthand. Yes, God would answer their prayer all right, but He wanted them to know that in answering their prayer in this way, their faith would be strengthened and their love and appreciation for Him would deepen. So, to be an eyewitness of what took place out in that field, they had to be there. We may not fight an enemy army like Jehoshaphat and his people, but every day we have different battles of different sorts, battles of temptation, battles of pressure, battles of the ruler of the darkness of this age. Ephesians 6 and verse 12. Who wants us to rebel against God, who wants us to be stubborn, who wants us to be disobedient, who wants us not to surrender our total lives to God. And so it is a battle, it is a fight, but let us remember who is with us. Let us remember who will fight for us. So, as believers, we have God's Spirit in us. If we ask for God's help when we face the struggles, when we face the circumstances and the temptations of life, He will help us. The Bible tells us that He is our present help in times of trouble. Therefore, we can look to Him. We can call upon Him. God will fight for us, and He has never lost a battle. In fact, no one can fight God and expect to be the winner. God gives the victory again and again and again, purchased for us as His children through Jesus Christ and His shed blood on the cross of Calvary. Therefore, we do not have to fear, as the young prophet says, but God will fight for us. So, a few ways, how do we let God fight for us? We realize, one, that the battle does not belong to us. It is not ours. We recognize our human limitations and allow God's strength to work through our fears and our weaknesses. We must make sure we are pursuing God's interest and not just our own selfish desires. The king had to heed to God's command and obey, even if he himself had thought of a plan. He surrendered that plan to God, understanding that God knows better than himself. And because God knows better, then he entrusted the circumstance in his hands. And surely God worked miraculously on his behalf. Let us trust God to work miraculously on our behalf. And while He is working things out for us, let us grow in His grace. Let us grow in His knowledge. Let us mature in Him and remember to give Him thanks, praise, worship, and adoration even before the manifestation of the promise. God bless you. Thank you again for watching. Please subscribe. It is free. Like, share, also comment, and continue to visit my YouTube channel, Daily Med with Lady V.